have the pleasure of teeing up a really special award called the Founders Service Award. And this award is an award that we give very rarely. In fact, this is the second time we're giving this award. We created this award to honor Genetic Alliance's founder, and it's very significant for us to give this award on the 25th anniversary of Genetic Alliance. Joan O. Weiss founded Genetic Alliance 25 years ago because she felt that the disease advocacy organizations really needed to find each other and support each other in their work, and that their service to their members was a noble service, and also a service that really required support for them themselves. So she had a great vision, and as she is fond of saying, and she's very sorry she can't be here today, she's traveling, as she's fond of saying, she founded Genetic Alliance with the help of Victor McCusick, March of Dimes, quite a number of other noble journeyers with her, Abby Myers. She founded it before the human genome was sequenced, so she thought that was quite significant. So this award we give because we believe that there are individuals in the community who really stand out head and shoulders above the rest. I'm going to introduce Natasha Bonham, who's our Vice President of Strategic Development, to introduce the awardee to you. This is an award Genetic Alliance gives, so the nominator is Genetic Alliance, again, because we feel somebody really stands head and shoulders above others. And Natasha is going to give this award tonight because Natasha has really personified within Genetic Alliance our community involvement, our focus on families, our focus on putting the person at the heart and center of all that you do. So, Natasha?
Thank you, Sharon. So when we announced that Betsy Anderson was getting this award, both my email inbox and Sharon's email inbox really kind of exploded with just that outpour of people being so excited that this award was going to Betsy. And I have to say, Sharon gets a lot of emails, so for her to notice a change in that, it really says something. But it also just really showed that Betsy has touched so many people's lives, including my own. Yesterday, Joe Valenzano was opening our services day, and he was talking about the people in the shadows, people who are sick, people who are going through different hardships, people who are just really suffering. Betsy has really spent most of her life pulling people out of those shadows and showing that they are important, they matter, and they have a voice. And she just truly is an inspiration. Instead of just focusing on her family or on her children, she really took her passion and really used it to serve families and children all across this country. And she did that through really creating family and professional collaborations. Earlier, I think it was today or tomorrow, the days kind of meld in our conference time, someone was talking about, oh, well, you know, just family and professional partnerships. And she was like, yeah, that wasn't going on when I first started this. And she was really at the forefront of that. She has worked with the American Academy of Pediatrics, the National Human Genome Research Institute in their LC work groups, the Congressional Task Force on Technology Dependent Children, and she has an appointment at the Harvard Medical School of Pediatrics. So she knows how to keep herself busy. This year, and the reason why we are honoring her tonight, is that she is retiring from her role of Director of the Impact Project at Family Voices. It's very easy to see that she is accomplished, she's accomplished on paper, but she really is someone who gets things done. And she does it with a smile, with so much warmth, and a lot of energy. So with that, I would like everyone to join me in both celebrating, saying an early happy birthday, and also honoring her with the Founders Service Award. Betsy Anderson, for your lifelong enthusiastic dedication to families in need.
doesn't this feel like one of those moments like, is this me? But you know what I was thinking? Are there, I think there are people here like me who have felt that serendipity of being in the right place in your life and your career and just feeling so lucky at all the opportunities. And I have to say, I've always wondered, what would we be doing if this were like 100 years ago? Would we have all found exciting, just incredible colleagues and projects to work on? Or what would we be doing 100 years from now? Just amazing to imagine. There are some people here, I think, who were part of and can remember the beginnings of the Genetic Alliance, originally the Alliance of Genetic Support Groups. But for us as families, we had to become so adept at beginning organizations because there simply were no organizations. So, the whole, we didn't fit into professional organizations in those days. And I guess I would say, for those people who can remember, the times were so tough. There were so many inequities and so many problems. And I would have to say it took guts for some people to be our partners. It was not easy, always back in those old days. But typically, as families, we started with our own kids and their diagnoses, and we developed pamphlets. We tried to find other families, and of course, confidentiality protected. We couldn't find. It was so hard to get contact with other families. No email, no anything, no internet, no anything like that. And I'm sure I still have a sample letter for a parent to take to the hospital, giving permission for them to, give it out to another family. And, running off newsletters, having our kids do the folding. I think some of you may still be doing that, I don't know. But at any rate, becoming adept at articles of incorporation, figuring out what our states required, all of that. And I remember feeling that the Association for Retarded Citizens, for retarded children as it was called in those days, in a way they had defined things very broadly. So they just said anybody with mental retardation. But we in the physical disability, medical disability, were often lucky enough to have a diagnosis, but of course it meant we were these little tiny groups. So we didn't have a voice that was big enough, and although that was terrific for the treatments that our kids needed often, we were beginning to become active and aware of that there were significant changes that needed to be made in policies and programs. And for those, the labels that our kids had mattered much less, and we needed to coalesce in a much broader way. So that first inspirational conference organized by the incomparable Joan Weiss, just incredible, funded by the March of Dimes and the HRSA Maternal and Child Health Bureau Division, it was then, in 1985. So I'm going to ask, who was there? Or it's long enough ago, who thinks they were there? So this was just a dynamo meeting. Oh my gosh, the energy was just palpable. And out of that, the next year, in 1986, grew the Genetic Alliance because it was just so powerful. And I have to say, at first, it was such an interesting and smart thing that the Genetic Alliance focused on our needs, helping us put our organizations together, because we couldn't be a voice for the bigger issues in genetics until we could really get our groups together and figure out what we needed to sustain our organizations. So that was really so powerful for the Genetic Alliance to bring us together and give us the opportunity to do that, to get to know what each other was doing, the successes, the problems, how to overcome things. And, in the mid-'80s, there were, when the Alliance was founded, there were such significant issues. That was For kids with significant disabilities, there were right to treatment issues. That was the era of baby doe, when children were not necessarily being treated and were being left to die. That was the era when there were people in the genetics community who really believed that if a family had a diagnosis prenatally, then of course they would terminate that pregnancy without any question. There was a lot of education and a lot of thinking that needed to go on to broaden that scenario. So it was just amazing. And although there were several dozen groups, when you look at the Genetic Alliance website now and you click on that A to Z registry and you see thousands of groups. I think that would have been beyond March of Dimes and HRSA to Fund, but at any rate. So that was just great. And also the Federal Maternal and Child Health Bureau funded at that time, beginning in 1977, regional genetics networks. I was very lucky to be part of the New England Regional Genetics Group, which was the first time I was getting to see, meet with researchers and really get to know people as individuals, get to know professionals in a much broader way. And for many parents, that was the first time they were in that kind of broader world. And we had a lot to learn, but we also found pretty early on that we had a lot to contribute too. And later, I got to be part of the Human Genome Project, serving on the Health Insurance Task Force, and then on the Ethical, Legal, Social Issues work group. And that was a huge honor and also a huge amount of work. And it would have been completely daunting without the kind of grounding and the connections that I made and that I had through the Genetic Alliance and the Regional Genetics Network that I was part of as a parent, because it had broadened my views, my understanding, helped me sharpen opinions, and really be able to think as a parent much more broadly. So at this conference, to see, this is just stunning, to see, geneticists, people in basic science, researchers, pharmaceutical reps, biotech, policymakers, families, all of you who are here, news people, and of course, families and those with genetic conditions. Some of you have been with us at the Genetic Alliance from the beginning, and others are newer partners that this alliance has very wisely kind of brought in. And it's just wonderful to see the growth and the creativity that the Genetic Alliance staff and the board bring to all this. And so my final ending here is that we really want to keep families, I think, at the heart of the Genetic Alliance, and to keep the field of human genetics human. And so happy birthday, Genetic Alliance, and happy birthday to all of you.